Chapter 4. What a morning it was in the old city of Lucca. Cannons boomed and bright banners whipped against the blue sky as excited crowds waited for a glimpse of the new princess who was coming to rule over their beloved city. At last the cry rang up and down the gay streets, "She comes! The princess comes!" What a fair sight greeted them as the procession came in view. Trumpet calls pierced the air as the band marched proudly ahead, and there were the red-coated horsemen, guarding the sister of Napoleon as she entered the gates, her shining robe gleaming with precious jewels. Niccolo, just arrived for the festival day, watched the gold flower-decked carriage wheel slowly by. "Welcome, Princess Elise! Long live the princess!" shouted the people around him. The fame of Paganini had already reached the ears of the new ruler, but Niccolo was excited indeed to find her royal page at his door a few days later. "Her Highness requests the master violinist to play at the royal court as soon as can be arranged," he announced solemnly. "To play for a princess? Why, Nico, it is the chance of a lifetime," cried Jeremy, who had returned from Genoa only the night before. "A good thing that I brought an extra supply of fiddle strings from Ricci." Niccolo sighed. Good, faithful Ricci. If only he could be here for the performance. He turned anxiously to Jeremy. "You gave him the Stradivarius for safekeeping?" "In the vault it lies, and you should have heard him exclaim over your good fortune, Nico. As eager as a child he is to see the Guarnerius." The concert evening arrived, and such a time as there was at the inn getting ready for the event. "The cream-colored knee breeches with the blue velvet coat will be the most elegant," decided Jeremy, pulling out boxes and scattering clothing in every direction. "And this white satin cravat, or perhaps the blue. No, the gold is best." At last Niccolo was ready, handsome indeed in evening attire. "I pay homage, my fine cockerel," laughed Jeremy, bowing low before his friend. "But come, or there'll be no homage at the palace if you keep the impatient ruler waiting." What an audience there was to greet Niccolo as he stepped onto the stage. Lords and ladies in finest costumes sat in the royal boxes with the princess and her attendants well in the center. Bowing low in her direction, Niccolo began to play. And with such power did he perform through the long evening that again and again the audience broke into cheering. "Master! Master Paganini!" rang the calls. The rare violin under his arm on the way home, Jeremy chuckled. "You have won the heart of the proud ruler with your music, Nico, and only once did she stop her listening, just long enough to box the ears of her attendant for whispering." The next morning, long before he had even thought of rising, the royal messenger was again at Niccolo's door. "Up with you, man!" cried Jeremy, rushing into the sleeping quarters. "Your fortune is made. The Princess Elise receives Master Paganini in the royal suite this morning at 11. Nothing in the world did Niccolo dislike as much as early rising. "Called from my rest at the bidding of a mere princess," he muttered, pulling the covers over his head. But Jeremy, well used to the whims of his friend, ripped the bedclothes from the shivering musician, calling, "Up! Up with you, man! Just 1 hour there is to don your most fetching costume." Half asleep, Niccolo stumbled into his clothes. But once at the palace, he strode briskly behind the guard in his best morning coat and bowed low before the haughty princess. "Much pleasure you gave me with your music, Signor Paganini," she began, a smile playing about her lips. "And now that there is need of a director for the orchestra here at my court, I should like you to accept the position, young man." An orchestra director? But it would mean giving up his own concerts. As he started to reply, Niccolo was silenced at once. "It is not necessary to give thanks, Paganini," said the princess. "I will expect you within the week. Good day, young man." There was nothing to do but obey the royal command. And soon Niccolo found himself in a small, dark room at the court, treated as any other servant, and with very little food to eat.